This is how you make your arms look bigger. It's like, get the lighting right. I'm like, it's all about the lighting. So macro timing. Doesn't matter what time you have your carbs, should you keep them earlier in the day? The truth is, it really depends on your goal. If you're an ultra marathon runner who's working primarily off a fat-based diet, then your carb timing probably doesn't matter. However, if you're an MMA fighter or a GA player or a soccer player or a basketballer looking to refuel glycogen stores, then it matters a lot. Number one thing is goal dependent. Are you eating carbohydrates first and foremost? Are you eating a lot of carbohydrates secondly? And what types of carbohydrates are you eating thirdly? So are the timings important? Yes and no. If you're trying to replenish glycogen stores after a workout, then the most important macronutrient out of fat, carbs, and protein is your carbohydrate. So if you're a GA athlete, if you're a soccer player, if you're a sports performer, or somebody just trying to get a better recovery from the gym, you should have your carbohydrates directly post-workout. So the next comment's going to split people because depending on who you ask, different people have different preferences for carbohydrate sources. Personally, I like complex carbohydrates. Oats, sweet potato, rice, they're my personal favorites. Some people like simple sugars, so having some fruit, having some simple sugars, having some glucose, having some sweets directly after training. This kind of splits the camp depending on what side you're on. The truth is, you have to experiment and find what works best for you. A lot of people find that complex carbohydrates directly post-workout is what works best for them in their recovery. Other people find simple sugars is what jacks up their recovery levels by replenishing glycogen stores quickly. And then you get others who are in between will use a combination of both. So experiment with all three and see what responds best with your body. Also, when people ask about keeping carbs early in the day, this depends on what time you train. So the answer is going to be completely different if you train at 6 a.m. when you get up out of bed, or if you train at 6 p.m. after work. So remember, your body doesn't really know what time it is. Outside of its basic circadian rhythm, when it comes to food consumption, your carbohydrate intake, it's really dependent on when you've trained and how you've worked out and what you've done prior to consuming those carbohydrates. So what I would advise is, by all means, experiment with carb backloading, where you keep all your carbohydrates till directly after your training or earlier on in the day and see how you're recovering and see how your body's responding. But just equally, you can experiment with doing the opposite, where you keep all your carbs till later in the day. The truth is, you have to experiment with whatever works best for you because no two bodies are the same. The literature will show that the majority of people will do better having their carbohydrates directly after training. However, at the end of the day, it's about your performance. It's about your body composition. It's about whatever end goal you're trying to achieve. So if you're trying to change your body composition, it's your overall calorie intake that's important. It's your overall macro intake that's important. It's your overall food choices, where your foods are coming from, that's important. If you're a high-end athlete, on the other hand, your carbohydrates, you probably want to take them directly after training to speed up recovery. So take-home message, experiment with all different options. Complex carbohydrates, simple sugars, combination of both. Find what works best for you and then double down on that. So tell me, what do you do in your post-workout? Do you have carbohydrates? Does it matter? Do you think it matters? Have you experimented with complex carbs? Have you experimented with simple sugars? Comment below, I'll be checking it out after this video. And as always, if you enjoyed what you see, be sure to hit that like button. And if you like the video on my page, be sure to subscribe for videos coming each and every week.